seen that we did a preview for the championship where we ran through each team in depth about talking about their signings and everything. But we didn't actually predict how the league would finish. So I'm going to predict from 1 to 24 how the championship is going to go this 24-25 season. Now, I must stress that I am definitely not a championship expert. This is really more just vibes, to be honest. Or maybe not vibes, but more educated guesses, because, when I did that preview video, I did a lot of research about each team in depth, so I feel like I have a general sort of knowledge on each team, plus my own opinion as well on how I assess the squads and how the teams are looking. So yeah, I'm gonna make my predictions. We might react to these once we finish the season, but I thought it'd be pretty funny because these could be really bad. They most likely will, because the championship is one of those leagues where it's almost impossible to predict the championship correctly, because literally it can just change in an instant, and there's always so many shocks and turns in the championship. So yeah, I'm gonna try my best, but let me know your predictions in the comments below. If I put your team too low, then of course, if you disagree, please do let me know and don't take it to heart. But yeah, I'm gonna run through my predictions. Gonna put them into this tier list here. So we got the relegation, just survived, mid-table, just missed out on playoffs, automatic promotion, and champions. So we go from 24 to 1 in order, and I'll tell you why I've put each team in that position. So we start with 24th placed. 24th place for me, I've gone for Oxford United. It's a good story, them coming back up to the championship. It's been a very long time, very long time since they were last in the championship. But ultimately, I just think it might be a little bit too much for them. I do think, if I'm being a bit harsh, they were slightly lucky to go up. I don't think they were really one of the 3 best teams in League One last season. And the main thing is, that lack of quality. I look at the squad, I think it is a upper League One squad. I don't know if it's really a championship team, to be honest. But also the experience factor is a big problem with, both the players and the manager. The manager is not tested at this level before. And I do just think all of those things coupled together, I see Oxford going straight back down, unfortunately. Then they'll maybe give it a bit of a fight, but I see them going down in last place. Sorry, Oxford fans. Okay, joining them in the relegation, 23rd place. I have Plymouth Argyle. Now the main reason for this is Wayne Rooney being appointed. I think that's a really bad appointment. Yeah, you saw what he did at Birmingham, just absolutely awful with them. One of the main reasons they went down last season, and I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if Wayne Rooney managed to see out the season with Plymouth. I see him getting sacked probably about in Christmas time. He'll get the job. They'll bring someone else in who, maybe tries to stabilise the ship. But I think just all of that instability coupled with the fact their squad is decent but not amazing like last season, they were a little bit lucky that they did stay up, because towards the end of last season they were struggling a little bit. And another big thing is Morgan Whittaker and Cooper, 2 big players who have been linked with moves away. I don't know if they keep hold of them. I should also stress this, I'm filming this in advance. Some of the transfers have not happened yet, which could change my predictions. And I do think Whittaker in particular will probably leave, which means that is, their best talisman, their goal scorer gone from the team as well. Coupled with the fact they have a really bad manager, in my opinion, I just think it's a recipe for disaster. And yeah, I think they're going down. 22nd 22nd place is Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn Rovers, yeah, I mean, just so much uncertainty around the club behind the scenes. It's just, whenever that happens to a club, they're almost destined for a bad season, and I think that's going to happen with Blackburn. I think they're going to go down. They ended last season pretty poorly, only just survived, but I think this season's going to be the year they do go down, because they've got this, ongoing court case with their owners currently. That means they haven't really signed anybody in the window. Sammy Smosticks as well, their star man, their striker, he was top goal scorer in the Championship last season. He's most likely either going to leave, or if he stays, I would be shocked, to be honest, if he managed to repeat that same level of output. So I think Blackburn are really going to struggle without that, and as I said, off-field uncertainty, turmoil, the protests and all of that is just going to be way too much, and create that toxicity around Ewood Park. I think Blackburn for that reason are going to go down. I don't think they'll finish last. I think they'll finish 22nd, only because I think they actually have a decent amount of quality in that team. The likes of Smosticks, Lewis Travis, Harry Pickering, but I just think again that off-field turmoil is going to be a problem for them and override that, similar to sort of how Birmingham had last season, and Blackburn are going down. So, just surviving in 21st, have Derby County. Now Derby County, I was actually very close in putting them down, because I think I'm a little bit unconvinced by their squad. I think their squad is just about Championship level, maybe just about. But the reason I have managed to keep them up is because, for me, I think they have more quality than Oxford. I think there's going to be much less turmoil around the club than Blackburn, of course. And also Plymouth, I think their manager will stay in charge. I think for most of the season, I think there will be stability there. And, they did really well last season. I think that's something they can build upon, a bit of cohesion in the squad. As I said, I think the squad is lagging a little bit in terms of quality, which means they will definitely be in that relegation battle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went down. However, I think they just have just enough to avoid the drop. Just enough, but as I said, I wouldn't be shocked if they went down. 20th placed, we have Portsmouth down. Now Portsmouth was an interesting one, because I didn't know whether I should put them. I could easily see them having some Ipswich-esque season, maybe not that good, but fighting for playoffs or something. But equally, I could see them just absolutely tanking, and getting relegated straight back down again. However, I've gone for the in between, and them being in and around that relegation battle but surviving. I think obviously they were absolutely fantastic last season in League One. They've got a young up and coming coach in John Mousinho. Potentially could have that great season if everything clicks. But I think it will be more about a consolidating year this season. That lack of experience for the manager, for also a lot of those players, never played in the Championship, never managed in the Championship before. I think that's going to be a little bit of a factor for them, which means, they might struggle. Last season they did get smacked up a little bit every now and then. I think it might happen a couple times this season due to the way they play. But overall, I think, I like the team, I like the system, I like a lot about this Portsmouth team. I think for that reason they will survive, but I just don't think they're going to have an amazing season quite yet. I think it'll be a solid consolidating season, and they survive in 20th place. 19th, Preston North End. Now Preston, I was actually debating putting lower, because I was really not convinced by them last season. Last season they were quite lucky, in my opinion, to stay up. They had some really good early season form, but then they really dipped off towards the second half of the season. It was really, really bad. And especially when you look at their defence was really, really poor. Really, really bad. One of the worst defences last season in the league. I think they might improve a little bit this season. I do like their manager, Ryan Preston were a little bit lucky to stay up last season. I think they'll be in and around that relegation battle again, but I think they have enough quality compared to, an Oxford, a Derby, to stay up this season, but I think it will be tough. 18th place, I have Millwall. Now, I thought Millwall had a fantastic bounce last season, ended the season really well under Neil Harris, basically a football legend at Millwall, knows the club like the back of his hand, always does a really good job there and did really well keeping them up last season and had some really good form in the back end. However, he knows how to consolidate, but I don't think he can really do much more than that. I think it was a little bit of a new manager bounce, but not entirely last season. So they made some interesting signings, but I think that overall Millwall, I either see Neil Harris having a fairly underwhelming season and them just finishing, as I said, 18th, or I see potentially them doing quite bad and then having to sack Harris and then get someone in who stabilises them, because the squad has a decent amount of quality, to be fair, but I just, as I said, I'm not entirely convinced that under Neil Harris is a legend and that, but I'm not sure in 2024 they're able to really kick on from here. I think it will just be nothing more than a consolidation under him this season in the Championship. Okay, the final team in the just survived column is Watford. Yeah, Watford for me, season is not looking too good, to be honest. Last season was pretty poor for them. Brian Don Cleverley was back in the season on an interim deal. Now he actually did pretty decent. He actually did okay for them, but the problem is that their squad is pretty weak now. They lost Ismail Kone to Marseille. Yasser Asprilla, apparently he could leave as well. I look at that squad, I'm like, okay, it's not really amazing. You have an inexperienced manager in Dom Cleverley, who, this is his first full season in management. Was it just like a new manager bounce thing last season? We'll wait and see on that. I think overall, because of that, it's not going to be a great season for Watford, but for me, I don't see them going down. I think there's not much chance they go down because of the fact it's Watford, and if they're in and around this area, they'll just sack Cleverley, bring in someone, get that bounce, and they'll stay up. So I think they might be lingering around there, sack their manager, get someone in to boost them, and then they'll just survive. But I really don't see Watford having an amazing season, to be honest. Okay, in 16th place in the lower mid-table part. In lower mid-table is Hull City. Now this might seem a little bit surprising given Hull were almost getting the playoffs last season, but this is a very, very different Hull team, and I do worry for them this season. They sacked Liam Rosenior, which was a really, really weird decision in my opinion. I think he's a really good coach. He did really well for Hull. They're gone for someone who plays more attractive, progressive football. This guy might do well, but I just think that's such a big risk. And then to make this worse, they've lost their, in my opinion, 3 best players, actually maybe 4. Ryan Giles, as a recording, looks set to leave to Middlesbrough. Jacob Greaves has gone to Ipswich, their best centre-back. Jaden Philippe-Jean, their best winger, has gone to Aston Villa, and Liam Delap, their striker, has gone to Ipswich. So that squad has really been gutted in terms of their key players. They've lost their manager as well. So for that reason, I don't think they're really going to have a good season. And I see them struggling and going into 16th and having a real regression. 15th place Swansea City. Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be in this mid-table section for me. Swansea, I look at the squad, it's okay. A couple of good players in there like Matt Grimes and stuff, but there's no outstanding players in there. The manager did okay last season in the back end of it, stabilised the team. I think this is more just going to be a sort of real rebuilding under him season for Swansea. I don't think they're going to have the quality to push up, and I think they have definitely enough quality to avoid a relegation battle, so it's a straight mid-table 15th actually ended last season really, really well. Some people might actually push them up a little bit than this, but for me, I thought they ended last season well. Manager's good. I think they are definitely progressing. I just look at the squad and I think squad is decent, but I'm not convinced they have enough quality in that squad to really make a dent in the playoff contenders. I think they'll be 14th mid-table, have an okay season, fairly inconsistent this year. And yeah, as I said, I just don't think they have the quality to really push on and push on for those playoff spots this season. 13th, Stoke City. Stoke City, yeah. Again, it's very similar to Cardiff and Swans. I think these three teams are very, very similar. Again, just a decent squad. They do have a little bit more quality, I would say, than Swansea and Cardiff in that squad. A couple good players. Like a goalkeeper they've signed, Wouterberger as well. But overall, I don't think the quality in that squad is enough. Steven Schumacher came in last season, did okay under a full season under him. I think they will improve and be a comfortable mid-table side, but I don't think they'll be anything more than that, to be honest. So yeah, I have them in mid-table, and rounding off the mid-table in 12th place is Bristol City. Literally, I could talk about all these four the same way. All four of these teams, just Bristol City, same thing. Decent squad, couple good players in there. Sinclair Armstrong coming in, decent player. But manager decent. Liam Manning did pretty well at the back end of last season. However, overall, again, just like these three, I think they lack that quality, they lack that star power to really make a push for those playoffs and really make a dent. And I don't think the manager is good enough to make up for that lack of quality, which we'll get onto with some other teams might have. But I do think out of all of these teams, I think they'll do the best in this mid-table section and get 12th. And be outside contenders potentially for those playoff spots, but I think overall we'll peter out. Okay, so now we move on to just missed out. So these are teams who I think will be in and around those playoff spots, but will ultimately fail. So in 11th place I have QPR. QPR now, QPR are very similar to these guys, to be honest. Decent squad. They have compared to these, but I do think they have some players in there who, if they can really perform well this season, have the capabilities to really, really help QPR. Like for example, Illis Share. I think if he can perform, could be a real weapon for QPR. Same with Jake Clark, Salter at the back is a really, really good centre back. I rate him a lot. And also their manager, for me, last season they ended really, really well, in some really good form under him. I think their manager is potentially better than these four in my opinion. I think he has a higher ceiling. I think what they were building under him last season was really, really promising, and I think QPR are going to build upon that and really try and push for those playoff spots. I think they'll be there or thereabouts. But unfortunately, I do think that I said they have, they do have some quality in that squad. I like their team a lot, but I don't think they have enough quality compared to the other teams above them here. So for that reason, I have them in 11th. But still a very good season for QPR, given how poor they've been in the last few years. Okay, 10th place. 10th place. Now this could be a little bit of a controversial pick. I've gone Sheffield United. Sheffield United in 10th place. Yeah, recently relegated. This one could bite me. This one really could bite me. Sheffield might well just go playoffs or just go straight back up, and I might really live to regret this. But the way I look at this team is, I think they're going to struggle a little bit this season. I think there will be a hangover from last year. Mentally, how bad they were is going to take a big psychological blow to this Sheffield United team, in my opinion. Conceding that many goals, getting slapped up every single week in the way they did, how low morale that was in that team. That's not easy. You can't just overnight just get rid of that, right? It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of rebuilding to get over that And also I look at the team and they've lost a lot of key players. Both strikers, Ben Brereton Diaz has gone from his loan. Ollie McBurney left as well. Vinicius Sosa looks like he's going, and Emma Hodgson potentially could go as well. That's basically all of their key players and best players. James McAtee's returned from his loan. So they've lost a lot of key players. Cameron Archer again returned to Villa. So I do worry. Chris Wilder as well. I think, he's done well in the Championship before, but unconvinced about him. What I think with Sheffield is, though, I don't think they're going to be like a, Sunderland and like a relegator or anything. But I think what will happen is they'll start the season quite poor as they sort of get used to playing in the Championship again, getting over that mental block, as I said. And it might be in around this area, but then I think over time they'll start to progress and start to get better. And as the season gets on, they will improve. But I don't think it'll be enough. I think it'll be a bit too late for them to make the push into the playoffs. So I have them in 10th place. Okay, and just above them in 9th. Oh god, the Sheffield United fans gonna hate me for this one. Sheffield Wednesday, just above them in one place higher. Yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday are gonna finish above Sheffield United. Yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday actually have quite a bit of hope and optimism going into this season. Their manager Danny Rowe was absolutely superb. He is one of the best coaches in my opinion in the league. He was so good last season for Sheffield Wednesday, saved them from relegation and put in some incredible work for them. They've really improved their squad as well, adding some nice players. One problem I do see though is I don't actually know if Danny Rowe will stay for the entire season. What I think potentially could happen is Sheffield have an amazing year. They're like up in the playoffs or automatic promotion spots, and then suddenly clubs start to look at Danny Rowe, potentially like a Bundesliga team or something, or like maybe a Prem side looks at Danny Rowe, offers him a deal, and he says, you know what, I'm going, and then suddenly Sheffield, the wheels fall off. That could happen, although he has signed a new contract, but still that doesn't really mean much. So yeah, but even if that doesn't happen, I think Sheffield, will be pushing for those playoffs. But I do think that, again, it comes back to the quality factor. I think these squads here just have more quality in their team than Sheffield Wednesday, and I think that ultimately will hold them back. Even if Danny Rowe is such a good coach, there's only so much you can do, right, as a coach. I don't think they have a good team, but as I said, I don't think it's as good as these teams. So I think they're just going to miss out on the playoffs in 9th place, but again, that's still a really good season, considering they were pretty much nailed on to go down by a lot of people last season. Okay, 8th place. 8th place, I have Norwich City. Yeah, look, this one is very dependent on the transfer window and what happens in the coming weeks, because Norwich have quite a few players who could potentially leave. Gabriel Sara, as of recording, has not left, but has been heavily linked with moves away, and I think will probably leave. Johnny Rowe, again, has been linked with moves away, but is still there. So, if they lose Sara, if they lose Rowe as well, then I think maybe Norwich could slip down a little bit more. However, if they manage to keep hold of Sara, keep hold of Rowe, keep hold of everybody in that squad, I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. But I think most likely they'll lose one of them. I think it'll probably be Gabriel Sara, and that is a big miss. However, that being said, they still have plenty of quality in that team, and I think we'll make a massive push for those playoff spots. The only problem I see though is they've got a new manager who is going to try and implement, attacking football compared to Wagner, right? And I think eventually it will come good. But I think it might take time to adjust. I see them at the start of the season potentially struggling a little bit. But I think in the second half of the season they might actually, once it clicks, they might be one of the best teams in the second half of the season. But I think that, making up that ground from here to there is going to be a little bit too much for them, missing those key players, Gabriel Sara potentially leaving. I think for that reason they'll just miss out on playoffs. But it wouldn't shock me if they did seventh place, just missing out on the playoffs. It's a little bit of a controversial one. I've gone Burnley. Yeah, personally, I'm just not convinced by Scott Parker as manager. I think it's a really, really odd appointment by Burnley. I think that, in the direction they were going with Vincent Kompany, I would have assumed they would go with someone similar to him. Scott Parker is in no way similar to Vincent Kompany. He's very much the opposite. He's very pragmatic, sort of adapts his style to what players he has, doesn't really have a clear identity or philosophy, doesn't play the most attractive football either. And I think that with this squad, has been working with Vincent Kompany for a long time, it's just not going to gel well, given the fact that, Burnley as well have lost a couple key players. But that being said, I know Scott Parker does have experience in the Championship, and I think this squad is really, really good. It's been promoted from the Championship before. Most of the players from that title-winning season under Kompany are still there. So I think what will happen, I actually don't think Parker will work. I could potentially see him getting sacked, but I think what will happen is they'll be in and around the playoff spots, but as I said, under Parker, I'm just a little bit unconvinced. And I think, they will just about miss out on it because the other teams around them, I like their squads, I like their manager a lot more than I like Scott Parker, to be honest. So, yeah, I could be wrong here. Scott Parker has done it in the Championship before, and it wouldn't surprise me if Burnley just won the league, right? Because they have a lot of quality in that team. But I personally just feel that, as I said, Scott Parker, very different manager to Vincent Kompany. I don't really like the appointment. I think the fans might not like Scott Parker's appointment as well. If things don't start off well, they could turn on him. So I think for that reason, they're definitely going to be in and around there. I don't think they're going to have an awful season or anything. I think they'll be in and around here, but I think they'll just miss out in the end. So then, these 6 teams are in the playoffs, at least. But who is making automatic promotion and who is staying in the playoffs? In sixth spot, making the playoffs just about, is Sunderland. Yeah, this one could come back to bite me. The way I see it is there's always one team who makes the playoffs or gets promoted who people don't really expect too much of from the start of the season. Ipswich last season, I guess you could say Luton in their year. There's always that one team who somehow makes the playoffs who no one really truly expects to do it, and I think Sunderland could be that one. I could be very wrong here and could potentially be made to live to regret this, but I look at their squad and I think their squad is really cool. They've got Joe Bellingham, who's definitely going to be staying for another year, who, under another year at Sunderland, I think could potentially bang this season. They've got some other really good players in there like Trey Hume, Alex Patterson. Alex Neil is really, really good midfielder. If they can keep Jack Clark in particular, though, that is the one. I'm basically assuming they keep Clark, and if they do, I think they have arguably the best player in the Championship. To be honest, he is really, really good. So I think if they keep him, they make the playoffs with that squad. The only question mark I have over them is their manager from Lorient did get relegated last season with them, but has a track record of working well with youngsters. I don't know much about him. He could be really bad and completely destroy this prediction, but I do think that they just have a really, really good team, and even if he's not the best, I think if their players do perform this season, they can keep hold of Clark. I think they're in for a really good year, and I think they'll manage to squeeze in those playoff spots and get 6th place. Okay, 5th spot. Coventry 5th, yeah. Coventry much more likely to get into the playoffs than Sunderland, and I think they definitely will get in there. Have a really, really talented squad. last season and getting to the FA Cup semi-final, and the way they performed versus Man United, they're a really, really good side. Mark Robbins has been at that commentary for a very, very long time as well. They know his system. The squad hasn't really changed much from last year, so another year under Mark Robbins. They were a bit unlucky last season with a couple injuries and stuff, but I think they're a much settled squad now this year. As I said, I have a manager who knows the squad, they know the system, he knows the league. They've made the playoffs before, and I think they're going to make the playoffs yet again this year. We'll see if they can go up in the playoffs this time, but I do think they'll make the playoffs fairly comfortably in 5th spots. Okay, fourth spots. I have Luton down. Yeah, Luton I think are definitely going to make playoffs minimum for me. Playoffs minimum for Luton. Rob Edwards, really, really good manager. We saw last season Luton were really competitive in the Premier League when many people didn't actually expect them to. Personally, I think out of the 3 promoted sides, Sheffield, Burnley, Luton, I think I have the most confidence in Luton. Like if I had to put my money on somebody to go back up, I would say Luton. As I said, I have doubts over Parker. I have doubts over, the squad for Sheffield. For Luton, out of those squad teams, much more settled. Manager, perfectly fine. Squad is pretty good when you compare it to the Championship. I think it's a very, very good Championship level team. Hasn't really changed too much from the Premier League. Of course, they have lost Ross Barkley, which isn't ideal. Alfie Doherty might leave as well, but mainly the squad is basically the same. Haven't lost their manager like Burnley. I think, they're definitely gonna make the playoffs minimum in my opinion. I think they could make automatic, but I think the thing that might hold them back is I think they might start off a little bit poor. Could be a little bit of a hangover from last season, because again, playing for Premier League football is very different to playing Championship football now, where you're expected to be the favourites going into every game. It's going to take a little bit more of adjustment to go to that, I think, for Luton, which I think could cost them a automatic promotion spot. But I think overall, experienced managers got them out of the league before. I think he could potentially do it again. I think they'll make the playoffs, and God, imagine this is right, Luton and Coventry playing the playoffs again. That would be mad. And I mean, if they do make the playoffs, they'll definitely be probably the favourites, regardless of whoever is in there. But just because they've done it before under Rob Edwards. Okay, third place, just missing out of these 3 teams on automatic promotion is West Brom. I have them just missing out in 3rd place. Agonisingly close. I think it will be close for them, but I just think that they'll miss out. I really like this West Brom team. It's been kind of a theme in this Championship. I think this is going to be a big theme. Settled team, settled squad. Manager, arguably the best manager in this league. Carlos Corberán is a top quality manager. Been at the Baggies for a year and a half now. Settled in nicely. Got to playoffs last year. I think they'll build upon that and really push on for those automatic promotion spots. They have really, really nice squad. Haven't really lost too many or any big players in that squad. Added some nice players to it. It's just overall, personally, I just think that these 2 have more quality in their squad, in my opinion, than West Brom, and I think that will hold them back. Yeah, but I can easily see West Brom going up. I think they'll definitely be in and around those automatic promotion spots, but I think they'll just miss out to Middlesbrough and Leeds. So, Middlesbrough and Leeds, out of these 2, who do I have as my Championship title winners? I have both of them going up this season, but I have Middlesbrough in automatic promotion, and I have Leeds as my Championship champions. Now, Middlesbrough going up in automatic promotion. Some of you might be thinking like, don't know about that. It's a little bit of a bold prediction, but the way I see it is, I think if they can keep everybody fit this season, I think they are minimum making playoffs, and I think they're going to get automatic promotion. Last season they were destroyed with injuries, and they were still almost making the playoffs. Year before that, unlucky not to go up automatically. Michael this team, sold him with this system. He's had a really, really good impact on this squad. They ended last season on some really good form. They've added some good players, Ryan Giles as well. I mentioned if he does join Middlesbrough, which he looks like he might, that is huge because he in Carrick's first season was absolutely incredible forward, and I think if he joins will be amazing. Manuel Laf ended last season really well. I think he'll carry that form in this season. Probably will be Golden Boot winner in my opinion. And I think, yeah, all of that, if everyone stays fit at Middlesbrough, I think they're going to be really great. They've got a really good coach, and I think, as I said, I think they just have, if everyone stays fit with Hayden Hackney in there, you know, Dale Fry, I think overall they have more quality than West Brom. I think that's what's going to get them over the line in automatic promotion. But my champions for the championship in 24-25 is Leeds United. Again, the theme, settled squad. I think they have arguably the best squad and the most settled team. You know, teams like Burnley potentially, you could argue have a better squad than them. But Burnley have all this, you know, uncertainty around their manager and stuff. Leeds last season, if it was any other season, would have gone up. They got like 90 plus points. So unlucky not to go up. I think they're going to build upon it. Under Daniel Farke, as long as, you know, there's not this sort of disappointment hangover from last season and not making them, you know, the way they sort of collapse at the end of the season, then they'll be fine. And also it does depend, this one, on departures, because they have lost Archie Gray, which is a big miss, but they brought in Joe Rodon on a permanent. Now I do expect Somerville probably to leave, but I think that'll probably be the only one. I think they'll definitely keep hold of Rutter. Nonto, I think they'll probably keep hold of as well. If they keep hold of Somerville as well, they're guaranteed champions in my opinion. But I think they'll probably lose him, but I don't think that'll really matter because I think overall their squad is perfectly fine. And they'll use that money to go buy someone else. I think they have enough quality in attack. You know, players like Ampadu at the back as well, really, really cool in midfield. Joe Rodon on a permanent is a really good signing. As I said last year, probably should have gone up. Very, very unlucky not to. I don't think the championship this season will have, you know, I don't think you'll need as many points as they did last season to go up this year. I think it'll be much, much tighter, but not in terms of points wise. I think the points tally will drop this season. And I just think Leeds, settled team, have the best team. I think they're going up. So there we go. Those are my championship predictions for 24-25. Let me know if you agree or disagree with those predictions. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Consider subscribing. And I'll see you in another video.